Many thanks to Felix Traction Squad, Clash from the servers, Sgt. Pepper's servers, Sea of Doors Cloud, Dallas, the Struggle Community, the Karma Crew servers, Dots, Designful, and Friendly, a DayZ podcast for making this video possible. DayZ 1.28 has drastically changed how vehicles behave to the point where they're nearly unrecognizable this patch. So in this video I'm going to show you how vehicle lag is finally fixed in DayZ, but also show you how to avoid the new problems that come with these fixes. To show you how vehicles are different this patch, I've set up a series of general side-by-side tests. So first of all, we have a top speed to brake test, and while both patches have vehicles travelling at the same speed, so there's no difference in speed, braking is different because in this patch, vehicle braking is more responsive, allowing us to brake roughly 10 to 20% faster due to, I guess, input lag basically being non-existent now. This makes braking into corners a lot easier, but don't get it turned because turn speed has not changed. Vehicle speed and turn speed is the same. This means the only real changes to cornering is how responsive your inputs are and how much more you feel in control of the vehicle even when you're sliding, allowing us to get much better understanding of when you should start accelerating again, hence why the drift in 1.28 here was much cleaner. I believe this input lag reduction this patch is best seen in this chicane example, where a lot of turns and little micro adjustments are required to get through here, showcasing the lack of floatiness in this patch, and I felt a lot more in control in 1.28, allowing me to brake later and get closer to objects, and therefore could pass through here much faster, as you can see. This improved input responsiveness also applies to changing gears, best shown here in this example where I'm going downhill and I have to rapidly change gears to catch up with the speed, which also demonstrates that hill climb ability in this patch hasn't changed, so the torque of vehicles hasn't changed. What isn't the same though is ground clearance, or the centre of gravity of vehicles now, which has been drastically lowered for all vehicles in this patch. This new ground clearance has some oversights, such as it brakes vehicles like the Saka and the Olga that were already very close to the ground in the last patch, and now they're pretty much in the ground when it comes to the suspension range. When that suspension range goes too low, it will flip your vehicle. This only really happens with the Saka and the Olga, and it does cause some serious issues, as you can see. I did attempt to change the suspension range to fix this, but this didn't work and it ended up breaking them more, implying that this issue might not be easy to fix and modders might struggle to find a solution too. The reason they didn't do this in the last patch is because vehicles were a lot more floaty and they could glide over these little bumps without any issues, but now every single bump is felt, with extreme bumps causing a lot of issues for some vehicles now. This change to ground clearance also makes collision behave strangely, in that vehicles will pass through some objects, mostly railings and fences, so this is going to be pretty common in this patch unless they fix this, but most of the collision hitboxes work still. The bigger issue is certainly the bumpiness, which I guess could be described as a stiffer suspension in this patch, making off-roading a lot more difficult, even with a four-wheel drive vehicle. Due to the individual wheels lifting off the ground so often, you lose so much grip going over bumps. Even though this was the case, there was no difference in speed during this rally test where you go around a circuit. I did this several times to get the best lap time in this patch and last patch, but you really need to focus on avoiding bumps this patch for a much smoother and more responsive drive. I believe this bumpiness is best shown in this downhill section from last patch to this one. In 1.27 I felt a lot less in control here, but the overall experience here was smoother in the last patch and I had a lot more grip on turns too, whereas in this patch I had a lot more input control, the braking was better, the turning was better, but the bumps made keeping traction extremely difficult, and when you lose too much traction you will spin out into a tree. You can see this bumpiness I'm talking about on the right. Every bump jolts the car, whereas on the left it's not so bumpy, and every bump changes the traction in an unpredictable way. This is the problem, it's unpredictable how much grip you're going to have, making corners an absolute nightmare while going over bumps. It took me many more attempts in 1.28 to get down here at speed while not crashing, and I still didn't beat my time on 1.27, so I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand that vehicles are not always easier to control in this patch. Without the bumps, vehicles do all the same stuff they did last patch, and in most cases you're going to be able to drive faster. As shown here, I was able to pass through here like a damn pro, and if you've ever played a driving sim game like Gran Turismo for example, that is exactly how vehicles feel now in DayZ, but in the last patch I felt like I was going to hit the bridge, resulting in overcompensating on turning and braking here. Speaking of which, turbo braking or holding down the turbo button while braking was majorly buffed in this patch. It should stop vehicles twice as fast, but I guess turbo brake is bugged at the moment. The numbers have been doubled for how responsive and how powerful the brake is, so 100% better. I believe the only reason I stopped slightly shorter here is because of the input lag reduction that I mentioned earlier, like in the previous tests. The Humvee's acceleration was slightly buffed too due to the changes to the gearbox, the automatic gearbox on this vehicle. Other vehicle changes include much quieter vehicle interiors, but players can hear your vehicle from much further away in this patch. So in the last patch it was around 70 to 120 meters depending on the vehicle and the RPM. Now it's 250 to 300 meters away, so around 3 times the distance compared to last patch, which is about the same distance that boats can be heard too. The horn distance hasn't changed though, and nor has the damage that we take inside vehicles when crashing, or the damage the vehicle takes when we crash. However, if you ruin a wheel in this patch, it will slow you down a monstrous amount more, as you can see here, but in the previous patch, this extra speed came with a lot of glitchy bumpiness, so I'm not sure which one is better, and for whatever reason, an idle wheel will no longer spin on its own. If you weren't aware, all online games have some form of lag, so lag in DayZ will never be 100% gone for players or for vehicles, but for vehicles, it was significantly reduced in 1.28. Extreme lag in previous patches would result in your vehicle killing you in most cases, and for the first time ever, I was actually able to replicate the same lag shown in the many glitchy videos that we've seen online. So this is super high lag in the previous patch, and this is the same amount of lag in 1.28. The difference here is night and day, and this is the worst that the vehicle lag did to the vehicles, and seeing this kind of makes me want to cry because based on this test, it looks like the glitchy vehicles of old is a meme of the past, and the Chernarus space program is likely to halt all future voyages. Now before you get too excited, do bear in mind that more time needs to pass for the communities to see the full extent of these networking fixes, especially on heavily modded servers, so vehicles might still do this glitchiness, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a monstrous improvement compared to the glitchy mess we had before, making 1.28 a truly glorious patch that appears to have fixed one of the biggest issues with the game, and whoever put this networking fix together, they need a promotion or a raise yesterday. If you've had a play with vehicles this patch, have you experienced the old lag that we used to get with the glitchy vehicles flying everywhere? Because I've yet to see a video online about vehicles flipping out like they used to, potentially meaning that this is mostly the end of laggy vehicles in DayZ, and also opens a door for different types of vehicles being added in the future. One such vehicle could be a freaking helicopter, which given the desert teaser we got recently is extremely mildly hinted at as a possibility. This is massive speculation. I believe helicopters are coming. Hold me accountable if they don't. Nobody has said that helicopters in any way, shape or form are coming. It's just a theory of mine. For the other changes of this glorious patch, see this video, or you can see the desert teaser for yourself to see my other theories. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.